and it involves money. How about that? Let's get started right now.
You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm Ulises Sambrano.
And we're the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making Locked On Rays your very first listen every day. Be sure you check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Rays, as well as all our other podcasting platforms too. You can also send us an email or voice memo to lockedonrays@gmail.com for future mailbag episodes. Well, Ulises, as you mentioned, money, money, money. That is maybe the headline of today's episode. First off, we have to talk arbitration, as the Rays have settled agreements with several players and avoiding arbitration with them, namely Randy Arozarena and several others. However, they'll be seemingly heading to arbitration with a buttload of players. So this creates an interesting dynamic.
It really does. And according to MLB.com, it said that 7 hearings, which is the amount of hearings that the Rays are going to have in 2023, that would be the third most ever for one team in 1 year. So am I alone? Before we get into the financials and why they would be doing this and why it makes sense for the team to do this, but can we just start off the top saying, am I alone in thinking that this is kind of embarrassing?
I think it's embarrassing and a bad thing for this organization that you are, and I know with the Rays, every dime, every penny, every nickel counts, but the fact that you are seriously headed to arbitration, because the Rays are traditionally a file to trial team, that they're going to go into the weeds with these 7 players, Jason Adam, Ryan Thompson, Pete Fairbanks, Jeffrey Springs, Colin Poche, Yandy Díaz, and Ramirez, instead of just kind of meeting them in the middle or agreeing to what they have asked for. Now, I will say that some of these asks of these particular players are maybe more egregious than others, but this is dicey, because it's one thing to go to arbitration with one player here or there. You go to arbitration with BJ Upton and G-Man Choi and Ryan Yarbrough. But and regardless of whether the Rays win or lose these cases, we know how these arbitration hearings go. It's the Rays basically saying why X player doesn't deserve this amount of money. Okay, yeah, you're a good ball player, but here's why you suck. Here's why you don't deserve this. And you can almost lose the player, and create a little hostility and a malcontent in this many players. It's one thing to have one player that you kind of disturb, but to have a quarter of your roster maybe upset and not happy with what you have to say about them going into the 2023 season over a couple $100,000 here and there, I think that's concerning to me, especially with some big time leaders. These aren't nobodies. We're talking about Yandy Díaz. We're talking about Jeffrey Springs. We're talking about Jason Adam. We're talking about Pete Fairbanks. It's significant, I think.
And I did the napkin math real quick before the show, adding up the differences between what the players asked and what the team filed for. Do you know, did you make the math of how much it would be total for all the differences?
I did. Guesstimate off the top of my head would probably be like $1.5 million, maybe.
2.9 million. So let's just round it up. 3 mil.
Okay.
3 million. How much have they spent this offseason in players? 11.
Right.
I know you can say 40 because of the 3-year deal, but what are they paying Zach Eflin this year? Is $11 million.
Yes.
So they spent $11 million in free agency, and they want to save $3 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
and again, I think that can be more than counterproductive by, you save that $3 million, but how many players have you lost in terms of the clubhouse and the fit within the organization? organization and the reliability and just any real life here, real life. If you have a certain amount that you're asking for in your particular job or career, and your organization or boss comes to you and said, hey, we respect what you're offering or what you're asking for, but here are the myriad of reasons why you're not good enough and why you don't deserve this amount of money, as opposed to them saying, hey, we just don't have the budget for it. Like, because the Rays have the budget for it, they just don't want to pay it.
But this is the insane part of it. It's like you can't sell to the fandom or to the players themselves that, look, we're really, counting our dimes here because we really want to get this X player from free agency, and we're really trying really hard to get this guy. $3 million is going to make if first of all, who's that guy? But $3 million is what's going to get you over the edge to get a free agent that might go somewhere else. Really, $3 million? I just it's in bad faith to go with so many players. I agree with you. One or two, fine. You can have your disagreements. In fact, I think one or two on this list, you could say, okay, I can kind of see where the Rays are coming from with their figure. Right. But 7? That's like that's a quarter basically of your active roster, who now you have to tell them why they shouldn't earn what they want, which means pointing out flaws right before the season. Right, what a great way to start the season for a quarter of your players hearing, you're not that good doing this, and you're not, that efficient doing this. Like, I just feel like this is embarrassing, not at all the way that you want to start the season. And especially, the financial side of things, the $3 million is what bothers me. It's $3 million. I mean,
if it was so far apart with some of these players, like say that Yandy was asking for $10 million and the Reds are like, we only really want to pay him for $5 million. I get that, but some of these differences are so minute.
Can we? I think for people that do not know the differences, maybe we should go through the list about what the players asked for and what the Rays instead counter offered. Maybe we should do that.
Yes, let's do that. But first, let's talk more about money with BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. It's where you can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from pro football to college bowl season to basketball and the World Cup. It is all covered at betonline.net. It is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. So head over to their website today or use that mobile device of yours to learn more. BetOnline, it is where the game starts. Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. So just for context purposes, let's run through these here. So Jason Adam, he filed at 1.775. The Rays offered 1.55. Ryan Thompson, he wants $1.2 million. The Rays want to pay him $1 million. Pete Fairbanks filed for 1.9 mil. Rays want to give 1.5 mil. Jeffrey Springs filed for $3.55 million. The Rays, $2.7 million. Colin Poche, $1.3 million. The Rays, $1.175 million. Yandy Díaz filed for $6.3 million. The Rays filed for $5.5 million. And then Harold Ramirez filed for $2.2 million. The Rays, $1.9 million.
Some of these are ridiculous. The Colin Poche, $125, really? $125,000. You're just not. Nope. 125. Nope. Keeping that. That's ridiculous. Jason Adam, basically almost the same difference. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I understand that there's a discrepancy right there between Yandy Díaz. He wants 6.3. The team wants 5.5. I think MLB trade rumors was saying something around 4.8 or 5 million. Yeah. So both figures are up from the estimate. So I understand that one. If Yandy Díaz was the only case, I think that should be all right. Yeah. But I mean, the Poche.
But I also feel like you want to keep your best hitter happy, your most productive offensive asset, pound for pound. 100%. You want to try to satisfy him in a way. It's, hey, great job. You know what? You earned that $6.3 million.
And maybe that's what they think what they were doing with 5.5. Like, hey, everybody estimated you at 5. We want to give you 5.5, buddy. All of these together are just ridiculous, man. I mean, it shouldn't really happen. But if you were to take case by case, the Poche one, the Thompson, Adam, and even
Jason Adams should get every penny. I mean, what he put out last season, that shouldn't even give him the money. Same thing with Jeffrey Springs too, I think.
Yeah, you already saved the money with the production that they gave you. Like, wouldn't that part of goodwill of give the player like an amp, to want to, man, these guys really took care of me. Like, I'm going in for the season. You don't have to hear that negativity that they're about to hear from their employer. Man, it's too many. It's too many for too fewer dollars. And I know some people like to take care of other people's wallets, especially billionaires. But right. I mean, I don't think there's an excuse here for not shelling out $3 million that you're not even using to better the club. You're not. Where are those $3 million going?
Yeah. Maybe towards a new ballpark. Who knows?
Sure.
Now, what I will say, out of all of these, the one where I would side with the Rays is, and people may not like this, but Crazy Eyes Pete Fairbanks. Again, he filed for 1.9, the Rays $1.5 million. And it's not based on the caliber of player it is. It's just, can you stay healthy for a full season? Like, give me more than 24 innings in 2022. Give me more than 42 innings in 2021. Ralph Garza threw more innings than you last year. I don't think you should be paid $1.9 million. I'm sorry.
And I think that's the main crux of what Pete's going to hear. I don't think he's going to hear anything negative about his performance, because you really can't say anything negative about his performance. We really scrounged up negatives when we were doing the player reviews of Pete Fairbanks, because he had a tremendous season, except for the fact that he didn't post. You weren't healthy. So I think that's basically what he's going to hear. And I kind of agree with you. 1.9 for a guy that's never really been healthy the whole season. It does kind of hamper your value, but even then, 1.5. I mean, couldn't you, if he's doing 1.9 and you're at 1.5, do we not see a compromise there with 1.7 people? Like, can we not? But I guess they didn't.
Yeah, and my argument, like, if I'm on the Rays side, I'd say, hey, Pete, we'd love to pay you, but you got to give us at least 50 innings in a season.
Yeah,
I mean, Matt Whistler threw more innings than you. Sean Armstrong threw more innings than you. I mean, Calvin Poche almost threw as many innings as you this past season. Like, you got to get that together in some shape or form. So, so that is really, really remarkable. And I think it needs to be a bigger story than maybe it's being thrown out there. I don't know, maybe because Mark Topkins on vacation didn't get as much play in the Times. I think they had one of the backup reporters covering it. So I'm sure that, when he gets back, that'll be something to really evaluate deeper and maybe do. I'm not trying to be your editor here, but go into the minds of the arbitration room and, maybe talk to BJ Upton and some former players about what it's like and how you feel coming out of that, whether you win or you lose in that case.
I've heard from former players in interviews that, it's not a dance, it really does impact you when you're hearing these negative things being said about you. And let's remember, folks, it's one or the other. So the arbiter is not going to go like, oh, okay, you said 2.2, 1.9, we're going to go in the middle. No. It's either one, what the team filed for or what the player filed for. So when there is such a big discrepancy, for example, with the Yandy Díaz one, 5.5 to 6.3, and he would be getting 5.5, that doesn't just, you don't just like roll off and be like, oh, okay, that was okay. Like, no, like you just lost $800,000. And you know who took that from you. It's really, really, really tough. Now, I will say this. If you just had to pick between Jeffrey Springs or Yandy Díaz, I mentioned Yandy Díaz, 6.3 to 5.5. Jeffrey Springs, 3.55 to 2.7. which one would you lean that is easiest for the arbiter to pick a side here?
I would say I would lean towards Yandy because he's had more of a history of being such a solid, productive player, where Jeffrey Springs has been more of, I mean, is it fair to say 1-year wonder thus far?
I think it's fair. I mean,
For the
first
most
year
part.
starting, so you can't just
first
have
year
that bump.
starting.
And I don't know.
So, I mean, Yandy Díaz has been around much longer. It's tough. I mean, at the end of the day, I think both deserve it. Like, if we're to run through the names, like
Yes.
Jason Adam, I think he wins his case.
Yes,
Ryan
me
Thompson,
too.
I could see him losing his case.
Yeah.
Pete Fairbanks, I could see him losing his case. Jeffrey Springs winning. Colin Poche, I'm kind of, that's a tough one. I mean, he did post last season, but I would say maybe losing. Yandy winning. Harold,
I think Harold wins. You know why? Because I think arbitration does take into account traditional numbers the most. So they're not going to go with, oh, but look at the BABIP on Harold was so large. No, they're going to be like, he hit 300.
Right.
He hit 300. So I would think that Harold wins his case. I think the only one that I think seeing going against the player would be the two cases. I think it would be Colin Poche and Ryan Thompson. I see them kind of like the least likely to win. All the others, though, I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I mean, if this was a something to put on BetOnline, I mean, absolutely lock down Jason Adam for getting his money. Absolutely lock down, I would say Jeffrey Springs too. Again, based on what he did this past year, like you can't deny it. So, and quite frankly, I hope all those guys get paid. There's a limited window in the big leagues, especially for relievers as well.
I just don't understand that if it were being like 7-8 million differences, the summation of the difference would be $8 million or something like that. I would understand where the Rays are coming from, but you're arguing for $3 million when you've only spent $11 million. And didn't they get like some Disney money? All teams did, like, what was it, 20 mil, 30 mil, something like that.
Yeah.
And
the Rays aren't hurting for cash. I don't think that's the issue at all.
It's great. It just smells, looks like greed. It doesn't smell like anything. It doesn't smell savvy. So you know what savvy is picking up Yu Chang. That's savvy. Yeah. That's a savvy move.
And
not
savvy
paying
is
7 players $3 million collectively. That's greed.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
Honestly, the savvy move is to more or less pay most of these guys and make them happy and content and want to play for you. There's something out there in economics called efficiency wages. Build some loyalty to your organization. There's something to be said for that as well. And before we move off this topic, we should mention that the figures that the Rays agreed to with the following players as well. Randy got a nice pay bump, $4.15 million. Francisco Mejia, $2.155 million. Andrew Kittredge, $2.075 million. Jalen Beeks, $1.375. Christian Bethancourt, $1.35 million. Yanni Torino's $1.275 million. And Sean Armstrong, $1.2 million. Ulises, any surprises out of this bunch, or just more or less par for the course?
I think par for the course. I mean, I wasn't shocked by any of those. Kittredge, he gets it because he's a veteran now, in that bullpen. And so
he could have been a DFA candidate. So he should be, look at his chops that he got a $2 million paycheck coming his way.
Yeah. I mean, that's the all-star, nomination there, and he's going to be hurt, but that's okay. Hopefully he comes back. But yeah, I think I don't think there was a lot of shocking numbers there. I see more shocking value in the 7 going to arbitration, and the fact that it's only $3 million, man. $3 million.
Yeah.
Unreal.
We have to move off of this topic and do a little ditty on stadium news. Yeah, there's a little brief bit of stadium news that we'll get to. But first, Ulises, we have to tell the audience about BetOnline or Built Bar. Oh my gosh, I'm giving BetOnline too much love. We also want to give Built Bar some love here too.
you gotta give Built Bar love, and you know why? Because it's a delicious treat that doesn't give you the fat and calories. I've told you a million times, okay? They are covered in 100% real chocolate. Okay, Built Bars, it's healthy, that's actually tasty. And if you've got a New Year's resolution to stay in track with your weight, well, this is a great way of doing so. And the best thing about it is that you don't even have to go to built.com anymore. You can if you want to, but if you don't want to wait around, you can go to your nearest Walmart or Sam's Club and pick up different boxes of your choosing. For example, if you go to Walmart, you can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream or double chocolate. At Sam's Club, you can get brownie batter, coconut puff, whatever you desire. So today, don't delay. Go to your nearest Walmart or Sam's Club to pick up your delicious and healthy Built Bars.
All right. Before we end today's episode, we do want to mention this. The St. Petersburg Chamber of Commerce have officially endorsed the 86-acre site plan pitched by the Rays and global real estate firm Hines. So that's a little win in the Rays' pocket. And there's been other voices of support for this particular redevelopment project. I know the owner of Fergs has supported it. A well-known attorney, Robert Heyman, has supported it. I don't know if reading some of the articles out there, the St. Petersburg Downtown Partnership, I don't know if they actually endorsed one group over the other, but they just are telling Mayor Ken Welch to select the group who will have the greatest likelihood of success, which I think is really important. Instead of a lot of these firms have promises upon promises upon promises, but can they actually enact and deliver on those said promises? I think that's a big thing. So, Ulises, I guess it's several weeks or a couple weeks until the mayor will make his pick. Is it a foregone conclusion that it's going to be the team of Hines with the Rays? Or is it going to be I know there's Sugar Hill and a couple others too.
It certainly looks that way, and we'll only have to wait till January 30th to hear the State of the City address, which is probably when the mayor is going to, get the announcement of the pick that he has made. But yeah, it does look like a foregone conclusion that it's going to be Hines and the Rays. I mean, this is a pretty big endorsement that you talked about. I don't foresee a big shocking development, and I think it always was the front runner. I mean, plot twists can happen anytime, but if I were a betting man, I would put the green Skittles on that it'll be that proposal. But it just a lot of news coming from St. Pete. I know it's because of their deadline and the mayor's seemingly more active, but the fact that we're hearing very little about the Tampa side, the Hillsborough County side, does make it look like it does seem like this new stadium is going to be built in St. Pete. It does have that feel right now, unless Tampa comes up with a plan, an actual plan with actual money. With we've seen enough renderings to become all artists and civil engineers. It seems like, but without the numbers, and it seems like Hillsborough County does not have the financials in place to do this, and without a mayor that is vocal about keeping the Rays or getting the Rays instead on their side of the bay, that's really not happening. Castor is kind of mum about the subject. She's kind of when she has the opportunity, she goes like, yeah, we would love to have the Rays, but it's very broad strokes. And until Tampa gets serious, it just seems like the financials and everything else in between are just going to be on St. Pete's side.
Yeah, it seems like St. Pete has been more proactive about getting this ball rolling here. Now, I will say this. I don't know all the particulars, but is there a scenario? I'm wondering, and I'm asking out loud, is there a scenario where I know the Rays are attached and connected to this Hines proposal where the mayor picks the Hines proposal and then, sometime down the line, the Rays are like, no, we really don't want to build a stadium in St. Petersburg. We want to move to Tampa or Nashville or Portland? Or do they actually have to build as part of this plan?
Good question. I would believe that there's some kind of lease agreement. There's going to be some contract stipulation. So I mean, you can always get out of a contract, but you must pay a fee. So I would assume it would work the same way. But I would find that very, very difficult to see, just because the money that they're going to be making, the Rays, if the redevelopment happens, I mean, they're just going to be stuffing. They won't have enough storage to put the money
for all
that
the
they're going to
money.
be making. They're going to be like that Breaking Bad scene with the money, and like you can just like lay on it. You know, that's basically what Stu and company are going to be like, and they already have that feeling. So it's just going to be even more. So
they'll be investing in gold. That's what.
Yeah, I would doubt. Yeah, I would very much doubt that would happen.
Yeah, and look, it's great what all these proposals put forth about affordable housing and office and retail and entertainment and civic uses. But at the end of the day, as somebody that has gone to many games in St. Petersburg at Tropicana Field, and of course, I want to see a nice, shiny new ballpark, but can I park easily? Can I get in and out easily? Those are my two main concerns there. So whichever proposal is picked, that's really the only guarantee that I'm asking for. You
and
build
buddy,
new hotels, that's fine. What's that?
I don't think you're going to get it. I don't think you're going to get it because it's right there next to the Trop. So how much more efficient could that be? I mean, maybe they can help it a little bit, but I'm looking at, how are we getting to the stadium? Are you giving us more options to get to the stadium? Are you are you implementing a faster ferry ride? Are more share ride Ubers or whatever? I mean, you guys are the geniuses over there. Like, what are the ideas to get more people to cross that bridge, to cross the bay, rather than just like, no, you got to make it to Howard Franklin or Gandy. Like, that's it. Like, you just got to do that. I feel like if they don't tackle that big problem, which is get people from one side to the other, if you're not doing anything to help that, then you're going to see exactly the same numbers ultimately after the big boom of attendance for the first couple of years, because it'll be the nice new shiny object. But it'll have the same effect as the Marlins new stadium did. You saw that peak and then off. And I don't care. And don't tell me, it's because they sold off the team, that's why people don't go. People already don't go to the Rays, and there are 4 times going to the playoffs in a row. So that doesn't matter.
Which, quite frankly, if the Rays are so on board with that, this plan, that the attendance figures may not matter to them in the least. It's all the other money that's coming in other ways that, they're going to be just fine. And that's probably what appeals the most to staying in St. Petersburg, is all the outside factors and the land surrounding the Trop, not the actual number of butts that they fill in the seats each home game. And
I don't think the normal Rays fan appreciates that fact. Because you see it on Twitter, on anti-social media, that they're like, but the numbers will be the same in attendance. Like, I don't think normal Rays fans know that doesn't matter to them. That doesn't matter. If it's 5,000 people, they're still going to make a bunch load more money. They're already making money now, but with the redevelopment of the area, they're going to be making 3 times as much money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if there are 5,000 people in the seats. And I don't think the normal Rays fan knows that, Kevin.
Now, exactly. Now, if you had an owner that was really passionate and cared about winning, that probably would have more weight and credence to it, because you want to have a vibrant fan base that is going to the game, so you can maybe attract free agents or get your current crop of stars to stay and have long-term contracts, as opposed to saying, okay, you guys are making a ton of money, good for you guys, but the atmosphere and environment of playing in New Rays ballpark is the same as playing in the Trop. Like, it's shinier, but the support and the raucous fan base, it's just not there, which I think, again, is another consequence of that. Like, good if you can get the money and make all the money. Like, if you're legitimately utilizing the Rays as just trying to to enhance your profits as opposed to Steve Cohen, which sure, he's making money on the Mets, but he also wants to win. He wants to bring that World Series ring, where I don't know if Stu Sternberg and team have the same exact outlook on that, where it's not a win at all costs scenario.
If it were that $3 million, you wouldn't be you wouldn't be arguing for $3 million for 7 players. It's a difference. I think, and a lot of Rays fans also don't understand that you might give the same amount of an offer or even more to a free agent, but that free agent might be okay with getting $1 million or $2 million less in another place that they're going to have 30,000-40,000 people nightly. All right. Then a Tuesday night 5,000, which we've gone to many of games like that, where it's just dead. And as a fan, like, I kind of dig it. You have your own space. You basically have your own section, but the players certainly don't appreciate that.
Yeah. And you can be shipped off at pretty much any time because this is the Rays, or you sign with the Rays because, my buddy over here, he plays for the Rays. He likes the Rays. He enjoys the Rays. And then before you know it, July comes around and he's traded. And, you've got like 12 new teammates and you don't know if you'll jive with them. So it's just a, revolving door of, it's not an easy thing to do by any means. So there it is. Monday's episode in the books. On Wednesday, we have a mailbag episode, and Friday, some exciting things to talk about as well. In the meantime, thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your very first listen every day. Now make your second listen the Locked On MLB Prospects podcast. That is also free and available on all platforms. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Stay safe, and we will talk to you on Wednesday.